What's up, guys? I'm Tim Gettys. This is episode 6 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. As always, I'm joined by the coolest dudes in video games, Colin Moriarty and Greg Miller. Claps for them. But now, for the first time ever, we got the producer
First and only time.
seducer himself.
The first and only time you picked a subject I might be able to actually talk about. What's up, Tim?
There's a lot of subjects, a lot of things. You know a lot about video games, Nick. You've
I know
proved
more
that
than
to me recently.
I know more than I think I know.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot less than I think I know. In most
simultaneously.
That doesn't make any sense.
No.
Doesn't make a
That's
goddamn
like the
lick of
direct
sense.
contradiction,
It
actually.
doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to make any sense. We're doing our own thing now. We don't have to make sense anymore.
All I know is you're no good at IDARB.
Damn.
No,
That's really exciting because we got a bunch of controllers from Xbox today.
We got everybody. We have enough controllers now to do full-on 8-player IDARB.
Yeah, and you blew my mind a bit that
Yeah.
there's 8 players. I didn't know that that was a thing with IDARB.
Yeah.
Because with 4 players, that was already
chaos.
Well, with 2 players,
I wonder
even,
if the arenas open up a little bit when there's 8.
I hope they don't, because then it
hope
can be
they
a
don't
team
either.
sport. You toss it around, you do what you need to do.
Yeah.
So
Then you just have a
Then
play
goalie.
positions.
the pass function would actually make sense instead of just Greg throwing it like a loony.
Hey, you know what? It got me to the finals.
I'm
Did I
moving-
win?
I'm
No,
moving the
but it
ball
got me to
around,
the finals.
everybody. I'm
Colin
moving the
beat me.
ball.
Yeah,
Proud of him.
that was nice.
He
It was
needed some
quite
redemption.
beautiful.
He needed to get up out of the dirt after the Tetris debacle.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was
See.
bad.
We'll
That
do
was
it again.
real
We'll do
bad.
Tetris again. We'll see what
We'll do IDARB again.
Yeah, we'll see what
But
happens.
when we
there,
team
too.
up, you and I need to be a team.
I was thinking that it would actually make the most sense for Nick and I to be a team since it was the top and the. Did you lose?
I lost to Greg.
You're the
You lost to
lowest.
Greg
You're
and
the lowest of the
you
lowest.
lost to me. Who scored the fewest points?
Probably me. I think Tim did a lot better than I did.
So it should be me. I mean, to be fair,
I
it should be
choked.
it should be the best player and the worst player. By
Nobody wants it to be fair, though.
I'm fine
What
with
we
fair.
really need is we have all the controllers now. We have 4 kind of funny people. We need to have 4 non-kind of funny
Someone
people
else.
roll in here.
Yeah.
See, what I think you're
Kinda
not
serious.
taking into account is that Tim and I have a cadence in life, in all things in life. And then if you put us together, we're going to be a power duo.
Yeah.
Because Tim's going to actually research how to beat the game and like how to be best at it.
I break
And I
games,
just
bro.
have the reflexes of a much younger man. At least the
And he's
32-year-old
charming,
man.
too.
I am. So I'll play charmingly. But I'll play
I mean, if you
dirty.
want Greg and I to be on the
charmingly.
team, that's fair. I'm just saying I don't know if that's.
I still think we should all be on a team and challenge some.
I like that
some
too.
schlubs like Giant Bomb.
Damn. Okay, that's the call out right there.
You just threw down
The
gauntlet, my
IDARB
friend.
challenge. Hashtag IDGAF
Gertzman picks
about
it up.
IDARB.
I have no idea what that.
IDGAF? I don't give a fuck. Come on. Step up your freaking teenage game, Greg Miller.
LOLs.
All right, it's time for the rigmarole. This show, very similar to the Game Over Greggy show, releases Monday through Thursday on the YouTubes. Full episode on Friday. Full episode Friday on iTunes and all that stuff. But you can get it earlier at kindoffunnygames.com. Nope, that's not right. I was so close. Kindoffunny.com, where you can get all of
Close.
it. Patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. Or kindoffunny.bandcamp.com, which now there's a new function that I don't even know if you guys know about. I was talking to the Bandcamp people. You can subscribe on Bandcamp.
I saw
so it's
that.
like it's a thing. It's $10 a month, and if you pay for it, or it might be $8. I think it might be $8. For $8 a month, you get the Game Over Greggy show and
That makes sense.
Gamescast, and it's just the audio. You don't get all the exclusive fun Patreon stuff. So
Yeah.
definitely Patreon's the cool place to go.
Sure.
But if you just want just the audio and you just want it early and you want both shows and it'll give it to your Bandcamp app and all that stuff, because there's a lot of people out there that really like Bandcamp because it's nice and you can get the FLAC downloads and all that stuff, and it's crazy. It's beautiful. You can do that and subscribe, and that'd be fun.
Be fun.
Before
Yeah,
we begin, I want to give a big shout out to Walter on Twitter at Walter's Next. He bought both the Kind of Funny T-shirt and the producer/seducer shirt, and he tweeted me a picture of the producer/seducer shirt, and it looks like if you were to actually physically wear sex.
Oh yeah,
That's what this shirt looks like. It looks like if you're going to put it on your body. This is no guarantee that this will happen, okay? I'm not going to go out on a limb and be like, let's make ourselves legally liable for this. But it looks like if you were to wear this shirt, you would feel like it was having sex with your body in a good way for the entire duration of its wear.
Is there a
Wow.
bad way of having
Wow.
sex with your body?
I've had some bad
it's
sex.
non-consensual, but
Yeah.
yeah.
There's lots of bad ways, actually.
guess that's
I mean, I imagine Greg's terrible at
Volkswagens.
sex.
I am
Is
awful.
there such a thing as bad sex?
It's like bad pizza.
I mean, sex is sex, right? There's just sex that's not as good as other sex.
That's true.
Like pizza.
I mean, there are, in the varying
bad
degree
pizza. I've
of
had bad
things
pizza.
that are good and bad, sex is still always good, I think, in general.
All right. Well, we're
As
just talking
opposed-
about shirts, and this kind of went into this, but I do want to say,
So if you want to
sex
get
is like pizza is a good shirt.
sex is like pizza. If you want to check out all of our shirts, ladies and gentlemen, go to
kindoffunny.com/store.
yes,
We're all
thank
very
you.
tired.
Jesus.
Go
Wow.
to,
I was gonna say district kind of funny, but kindoffunny.com/store. We got some great ones. We have maybe some mugs coming, and those won't be the only things coming if you buy the producer /
Wow.
producer shirt.
My God.
Damn, son. Damn,
I'm saying
son.
if you buy that shirt, it'll come as well onto your body.
Do what you want.
Yeah.
So the shirt will come on your body. I got it for
Do
sure.
what you want.
All right, guys. First topic of this week is the Nintendo Content ID conundrum that is facing YouTube
I've heard of
right
this.
now. Let me tell you guys a little bit more details about it.
Thank you.
So it's the Nintendo Creators Program. Nintendo says, in the past, advertising proceeds that could be received for videos that included Nintendo copyrighted content, such as gameplay videos, went to Nintendo, according to YouTube's rules. A statement on the program's website reads, now through this service, Nintendo will send you a share of those advertising proceeds for any YouTube videos or channels containing Nintendo copyrighted content that you register. Videos with Nintendo content must be original gameplay footage captured by the user. Members are also required to present the following disclosure in each video, either verbally or as an on-screen caption. Quote, I have a license to use Nintendo's content in this video through the Nintendo Creators Program. This video is not sponsored or endorsed by Nintendo.
You
but
just, while they're reading this, you just see the gun like come in, like
Yeah,
out of frame and back
exactly,
in.
but any advertising revenue from this video will be shared with Nintendo. So if you're interested in participating, you can register a Nintendo's Creators Program account via the website. The advertisement revenue share is 70% for channels and 60% for videos, and all payments will be made via PayPal in USD.
This makes me
That's
laugh.
some bullshit.
People are upset about this,
should
including PewDiePie himself,
Yeah, Boogie too.
the champion of YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, and PewDiePie said what everyone's thinking, that Nintendo games have just gone straight to the bottom of his list of games that he wants to deal with or has to deal with. Because this is the bullshit thing, right? It says, I can read it from here because I got my glasses on. In the past, advertising proceeds that could be received for videos that include Nintendo copyrighted content went to Nintendo according to YouTube rules. Well, I'm a little confused about that because Nintendo is the one that's striking the videos or marking the videos to get the money, right? I mean, this is what happened in the past. So that's first of all, it's bullshit.
As of last year, they did that.
Yeah.
So they were one of the companies that initiated. They got 100%. So here, they are at least. I mean, they're giving away 70% of the stuff.
Right, but they're making it seem like it's YouTube's rules. I don't think YouTube went to fucking Washington and was like, hey guys, or Kyoto, and was like, we have a rule. If it's a Nintendo video, you get all of the money. You know, I don't think
Like, well, we don't want to take it from fans, but if that's YouTube's
that's
rule,
so disingenuous.
So here's the thing. I do not want to come off like I'm saying that this is a good thing, because it's not at all. But I do think that people are jumping down the throat of it a little. Before I even go down this, there is some even worse things where there's this process where even if you're registered for this, it takes days to get approved for each video.
Per video.
Per video. So you need to wait to get approved
They're
for
the
each
best.
video and all this. And it's like, in this, this is our jobs. This is our living. We can't do that. Like, we can't wait a couple days to see if our thing gets approved to then get 70%. Like, from already when you're splitting with YouTube, like what, 50%, 40%, depending on what it is.
Yeah.
Like, that makes no sense. So we're getting 70% of 50%, which is, I'm not good at math, but there's something there.
50% of 70%, you're saying?
70% of 50%.
70% of 50% is
30-something%.
Is that even possible? I think.
Well, yeah, you just have a new total when you do the 70, and then you take 50 of that, or vice versa. There's no until you have a real amount.
It's really
you can't do
simple
it.
math.
What?
I'm
No,
stupid.
it's not, because until you have a number, you can't do it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm
percentage
saying
of a percentage
percentage-wise.
is, I don't know.
Whatever. I
It's
don't
been,
know.
it's been a good show.
Replace for X and extrapolate. No, this is
I'm
just
so
some
glad I
bullshit.
came on this
And
show.
the weird thing is that it's interesting so many people are mad about it now and not when it originally came out, right? Because when it originally happened, Nintendo's like, we're going to copyright claim all our videos and take all the money. People were angry, but they weren't like they are now.
I
And
think they were.
it seems now people
But
are
it's just one of
way
those
more
things-
vocal. Well, I think now Let's
They're not
Plays-
going to be vocal in like 2 weeks, though. That's the thing. It's the same thing that happened last time. Every time this happens with any of the companies, people are like, fuck this. This is fucking bullshit. And then they don't notice it ever because it doesn't matter to them. So
Right.
they shut the fuck up. And I think that's going to happen again here.
I don't. I think it all depends on how aggressive Nintendo is. We've talked about this before. We do Smash every Wednesday, right? We so far have not gotten any strikes or had anybody say they're claiming our money on it. Once they do, Smash on Wednesday ends. And I think that's the same thing here. I haven't heard, even though PewDiePie's talking about it, he hasn't been struck, has he? He hasn't had these agreements placed on him, right? Or not the agreement. He hasn't had anybody come try to take his money, right?
I don't know if PewDiePie has. There have been other people that
When
have been. hit by
Nintendo
this.
gets aggressive and comes after people who are vocal and have audiences, that's when they have a problem. Right now, if they're just trying to take a piece of these gamers who are putting up Let's Plays and have 50 subs or whatever, that's a different story, right? Because then, what are they going to say?
I
They
don't
know.
think that's what they're targeting, though.
Who are they targeting?
I think they're targeting the IGNs or the USs of the world that are actually.
But why hasn't that happened? This is what I'm saying. This isn't new.
If I remember correctly, they tried to do it, and they've been trying to do it, but I think it's probably a much bigger uphill battle than they think they have. It's not easy. You know how many people are creating content based on their games?
Yeah, but again,
content ID in games is harder than music or videos and stuff.
It's not hard to look at IGN or kind of funny
but I think
games and say they're doing it and do it.
I don't think they're going to go after companies like IGN. And I'm wondering if they've not gone after us because we're too small or because we have an MCN. Because I think that those are
it's the MCN.
Yeah, so I think that there's like multiple layers because we're represented obviously by the collective. We very much appreciate them. I agree with Greg. The second that Nintendo goes after one of our videos, we are not doing Nintendo content anymore. And
I'm not
playing I'm not playing their game.
We'll be putting up videos saying why we're not doing it. You know what I mean? Like that's a big deal. Like that's the PR battle they fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So going back on this, like I do not want to sound like I'm on the side of.
Just admit
Nintendo
you're a
on
Nintendo
this.
fanboy.
No, but like, it's because that's nothing to do with Nintendo.
The 3DS library is so much
It is
better
way
than
better
the
than the
Vita's
Vita. It's not even-
library.
Thank you for the information, by the way, that there are more 75 plus games on Metacritic for Vita than there are 3DS.
Oh my god.
IDARB.
There's more 90s for Nintendo though, so it's all that matters. Anyways, so for the YouTube side of it, like what they're saying about the Nintendo, like Nintendo said that YouTube says that. YouTube does say that. It's up to the people to
come after.
act
Well,
on it,
that's what I'm
whatever.
saying,
But,
and- but that's
they are the
disingen-
ones. It is their content though. Like it's not disingenuous because it is. They are the ones creating the stuff. It's like it's the same thing if we.
No, look,
if
they have
someone
a-
made a movie or something.
like-
Like they own the movie, and for technically you're not allowed to use it. Technically, we're not allowed to do Let's Plays. Like all the people that are doing Let's Plays and are upset about it. Guess what, guys? You're not allowed to do that. You're just doing it, and you're pissed off that they're mad because so many other people get away with it.
I don't dispute
but they're
the-
not allowed to.
I don't dispute the legality of it.
So it's not a matter of being allowed or not allowed to do it. It really comes down to the IP holder, and that's my understanding of the issue. And I think yes, you're absolutely right. Letter of the law says it is their game. It is their IP that people are creating content with. They should be allowed to dictate what kind of content gets made. The thing that bothers me is that you can fight that battle all you want, but it is a losing battle. And not only that, but the only company or entity it's going to hurt is Nintendo in the end. They're getting a ton of free marketing. Like, how many people will still continue to play Smash for the next year? And how many games do you know that are that relevant for that long? Like, that stay that relevant that long online, right? Not many, not a handful. Maybe Call of Duty and some other fighting games or some other first-person shooters. But for the most part, content creators like us are keeping this type of content alive, and we're keeping these titles alive because we love them, and that's the whole spirit of YouTube. When you come out against that and say, look, we want to take a huge piece of that pie, there's no incentive for growth there, and so inevitably that business is going to die because what you're basically telling people is stop, not hey, share the wealth. It's hey, go play someone else's game that doesn't do this.
See, I see it from another perspective, and again, at the end of the day, I am on our side.
Yeah,
of this.
you're in Reggie's pocket. Just admit it.
No, but what it
better
comes
be on
down
our
to
side
is
of
I
it.
think that
you're
I think
fired.
what Nintendo's trying to do, and they're doing it wrong. Like they do everything wrong. Like there's so much shit that they do that they think they're doing right, and they just aren't. And this is a perfect example of it. Is I think this is them trying to support YouTube and stuff, and they think this is good, and they're like, oh, you're getting 70%. Like that's great to all the people that aren't making anything, you know. And I think that's the angle they're coming from with this whole thing, and it is wrong. They're stupid because you're right. Like PewDiePie even said this in some interview I read. I don't remember where it was, but he was saying that people aren't coming to him to watch him play Nintendo games or watch him play any games. They're coming to him for him. And when they see him playing these games, that's the free marketing, and that's where it comes into. Nintendo sees it the other way, where they're like, oh, they're coming for Smash Bros. And it's like, no, they're not. Like, that's the problem.
I mean, and that's debatable and that's a relative thing, but I do know this. If they come to us and say, and I'm with Colin on this, like, you know, we got to fight this battle, because if they come to us and say, look, we're going to take your money out of your pocket because you're playing our game, we're going to play Smash off camera because it's a great game and I would not play that game.
I'm
and then
going to
we're
throw
going to
the
go play
Wii U in
IDARB.
the street.
Are you going to just run over it?
We're going to
with
make
your
a
foot?
video of it. I mean, no, I won't throw it.
Well, that's
we'll continue to
the
play.
thing about it. No one contends the legality of what they're saying. They own the IP, right? Now, I'm not sitting here and being like they legally don't own the right to Mario Brothers. Obviously, it's a broadcast of Mario, and they can say no. The idea is it smart, and does it make
That's what I'm
sense?
saying.
Definitely not
and
smart.
and it is disingenuous because they're no different than any other publisher. Devolver Digital, who's been very vocal about being like, do anything you want with our games, anything you want, because they're not, stupid about it. They understand that they've sold literally millions of games because of Let's Plays.
Yeah.
That they're like, they can also be like, oh, by the letter of the law on YouTube, we own 100% of the video. And no, it's that. That's why that's a disingenuous statement. Everyone knows that that's a disingenuous statement. That's been going on all over the place. It's not a difference at all.
There's a difference when how many views are those games getting compared to how many views Nintendo games are getting. Like Nintendo,
a game like Hotline Miami probably would contend with almost any Nintendo game when on YouTube. That's how the game got big. You know what I mean? So it's not like there's Smash Brothers and Mario Kart, but it's like Hotline Miami is huge. So it's
but when you think about like all the YouTube channels that just focus on Nintendo stuff and how many views those get, like Nintendo could be making so much money from this YouTube stuff.
Sure.
So it's like from a business standpoint, like it's one of those things where why. Like I understand that they're losing a lot of this free advertising and all that stuff for the people that are like, fuck you, we're not going to cover this anymore. But for all the people that are like, whatever, 70% is fine, or they just don't care about that, they're still getting that, and then Nintendo's just making money from it. Then.
But do you think the big people will continue to do that?
I think that a lot of people will, and I mean a lot of people before when Nintendo said fuck it, we're taking 100%, they stopped. Like Rooster Teeth straight up just didn't do Nintendo content forever, and then they like kind of went back on it, and so they started again. But it's one of those things where it's like Nintendo, as a business, they're going to make hella money from this shit.
Well, yeah, I have no doubt they'll come up on the upside of this, right? They're going to make money off of this. It'll be a positive revenue stream for them. Is it right to do it? No. In short term, yeah, they'll make money. In long term, does it just continue to hurt their reputation, and does it continue to quelch creativity on the internet and on YouTube? Yes, I think it does. I think there is a huge amount of power in the freedom of saying we shouldn't be letting creators do this, but we're going to do it anyway because there's something special about this, and there's something amazing about an entire community out there that is formed around this title that we make. Maybe we should just focusing on making more of these titles and putting them out to those communities so that they can be our spokesperson and our vast marketing machine, which, by the way, cool. Can we then go back and charge them? Like, can we be like, hey, we've gotten you this much views, it's worth this much in the free marketplace, like now you owe us for playing your game? Like, the door swings both ways.
I actually agree with that, and just in the sense that like it's not looking into the time, like the 100% seizure of the money doesn't go into the time that we have to put into editing the video and putting it on the video and putting our audience's eyes on it. Mm-hmm. It's not a matter of any of that, because Microsoft's kind of trying to do not trying to do, but I think they've talked about some similar things, or like some YouTube rules. The good news is that most companies get it. Like Sony isn't running around being like, don't fuck around with Uncharted on YouTube, we're gonna come after you. No, they're like, it's free advertising. This is stupid. We're not even in the advertising business.
Yeah.
No, but you know what I mean? Like that's what
I think that's the thing that kills me too, is that I get where Nintendo's coming from, right? If I were sitting there a little bit removed from what the new media generation is, and I was sitting there looking at this company that I owned, I would say, hey, there's a lot of money that people are making off of us. We should get in on that. But I think that I've heard you guys talk time and time again about how sort of distanced the management of Nintendo is from really with the consumer, and this is just another example of that, right? That screams to me like we don't get it.
Exactly.
They don't get it.
And by distancing yourself from this and having people stop playing your games, even though people will continue, some sites will, a lot of sites won't, and you're just, again, paring down this group that is this generation that's coming up and only knows Minecraft and touchscreen games.
Yeah.
If they're not going to see that Smash Brothers is fun, that card is fun, then how would they know to pick that up?
Mm-hmm. They don't know
that connection isn't there anymore. This is like what Shu at the PlayStation 4 launch event, when I interviewed Shu and I brought up and I mentioned something offhandedly about how Nintendo I thought was screwing up, and we had this then diatribe about it, discussion about it. The fact that he's like, well, we want them to succeed. They need to succeed because their games are kidsy focused. So if people are playing the Wii U, they one day want to come up to a PS4. Whereas like by removing yourself from that ecosystem, by removing yourself from YouTube, by making yourself not cool, by making yourself not connected to the internet, like these are all ways to alienate your brand and just become what I'm always talking about, a toy that's on the shelf for 2-3 games.
Yeah. See, but I think that the fact that they have the program, it shows that they want to do it, and they do want to support that system. They're just doing it the wrong way.
Sure. I mean,
but like other companies don't even have that. Like Microsoft just straight up, no, just don't do it. Or like if you do it, we own the shit. And like no one cares about that. But
Microsoft doesn't have that many exclusives.
But
that's why. I mean, when Halo comes around, it'll be a bigger deal, right?
But that's the thing is, it's just like you were saying, Sony doesn't care. It's just like we're just not seeing it yet. But the thing is, all of the things, every single game can get copyright strikes.
Sure,
like, all of that.
But understand that, like, my stance would be the same if Microsoft or Sony came after our stuff too. There are lots of games and lots of publishers that, frankly, don't have their head up their ass about this kind of stuff. So we don't have to cover the big three if they all want to come after the videos that everyone's doing. That's the point. Is that I don't dispute the legality of it at all. I don't dispute that they can do whatever they want. I don't dispute that there's money to be made there. What I dispute is the intelligence of doing it. And, Jim Sterling put up an awesome video about this, and it was brilliant. And we watched it together because the stroke of genius was for the first 2 minutes he talked about it as if EA was doing it. And then he's like, by the way, I'm summarizing it, but he's basically like, by the way, I said EA over and over again because it's really Nintendo, and everyone gives Nintendo a pass on everything. So what about if it's a company that you actually hate? How would you feel about it then? And it's like, that's a really good point because Nintendo does get a pass on everything. So it's like it's interesting that they're identifying, like, if this would be a bigger deal if this was a publisher that was more loathed by someone. But a lot of these publishers need to understand that this is free advertising. They can do what they want. They own the IP. They invest a lot of money in the IP, but they make the money through game sales. And if they're smart, they understand that, like, when a tastemaker like PewDiePie plays Smash Brothers, that they have the potential to sell like 50,000 copies of the game off of one video, and that's where the money is. And
that's a huge point right there, right? Because why do people respond to PewDiePie, right? It's him. Everyone likes him first and foremost, and there's an authenticity to him picking the game that he's going to play and play it. That's where the entertainment value comes in, right? That's where the eyeballs are when you talk about marketing right now. And that's why when I talk about the YouTube audience, I look at it, it's a vast sea of creators, but really it is the probably most powerful marketing force on the planet right now. Like, if you're looking at the history of the big media outlets, like, how many of them are left? How powerful are they really? As opposed to the millions of creators out there that are one by one evangelizing your brand. They're choosing to share your brand in a very authentic and a very fun and a very simple way with their audience, and you're trying to get in the middle of that. Be careful. It's dangerous. You're flirting with potential disaster because, as we see in multiple times, if the internet decides they don't like you, holy shit, like, creators could band together and just be like, we're not doing this anymore, and boom, no one, like Greg was saying, where are people going to go to see your products? Brick and mortar stores are going out of business. Like, magazines don't exist anymore. Like, what are your opportunities to market this in an authentic, genuine way? Not, hey, we're paying someone to do this, and Lord knows we all love that when someone's like, hey, I'm getting paid to make this generic video that no one gives a shit about. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, just thinking about, like, Star Wars fan films, right? Like, or you take a property and then you make a fan film of it and then it gets taken down, like video game fan projects and all this shit. It's just like, from the beginning, you're not allowed to do it. And if people do support it, then it's like, all right, cool. But remember, I just don't understand getting mad at it.
Remember also, from the beginning, you weren't allowed to do YouTube. YouTube was 100% illegal from the get-go. It was a place where people were essentially pirating streams of videos.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's not true. YouTube is legal.
No, YouTube,
what you put on it.
Correct. But YouTube, when YouTube first launched, I looked at it and everyone looked at it and was like, Jesus, this is like the next iteration of Napster. Like, this is a huge, like, X. Like, this should not be allowed to happen. And they were in huge legal turmoil right before Google bought them. And now, what used to be illegal is now commonplace, right? And this people that are smart were like,
still illegal.
It's still illegal, but the people that are smart were like, instead of fighting against this giant tidal wave, maybe we should be figuring out the correct way to utilize it to our benefit. And that's what a lot of people have done. And I think Nintendo, to their credit, is trying to do that, but I think there's got to be a better way to do it.
It reminds me just of music in the sense that, like, you go to YouTube and you I'm just as an example, I'm a huge 311 fan or whatever. They have a huge touring audience, right? And, like, so when people put the videos up, even high quality, old quality videos, they're not going to go after you because it's like, well, our money's made in ticket sales. So what if someone comes? We can go and have our label go after all these people and have all their videos taken down, or maybe someone sees a live version of Down or whatever and they come see us. And we make $20 or $30 off of them when it would have taken us thousands and thousands of views of another video to get $20 or $30 out of someone. So it's like, it's the legality's not a problem for me. It really is, like, the intelligence behind it, especially in a competitive marketplace where, frankly, Nintendo is losing. That's the biggest part. That's the craziest part about it. Wii U has sold like 9.5 million units. So if people are playing Wii U and evangelizing, we've certainly sold Wii U's just by playing Smash Brothers. We get the tweets from people. You know what I mean? So, like, that's helping them. It doesn't make any sense. It's like a brash and arrogant move from a company that has no business being brash and arrogant. And that's the most confusing part of it of all for me. It's not even the advertising thing. Some companies will get it. Some companies do get it. How many copies of Dying Light sold because we streamed it, or because and imagine if someone like PewDiePie played Dying Light.
We're just starting out at this, and we have an awesome audience of best friends that we love very much. But yeah, we get those tweets, right? Of, saw you play IDARB and I bought it, or got it for free off Games for Gold. Everybody says that, and then Dying Light, I bought this, after watching your stream. We get that all the time. And that's what they're going to lose out on. You know what I mean? Of being able to win somebody over, I feel like. Especially if they go this way, like you're talking about with Jim. If they go down this EA route, what you think would be an evil EA decision. I'm using air quotes if you're listening to the podcast because EA isn't evil, and it's stupid that everybody keeps voting them evil.
I agree.
Let's also remember this. Like you brought up the fanfic or the fan film, that fan films that people used to do back in the day and still do to this day. You're not making any money off of that, really.
No, but I mean, like for the people that are, the people selling it.
Sure,
like,
but that's the
you
difference.
Totally are making money off.
You're
of
making
it. In the exact same way Let's Plays are.
You're making money off it, but you're not making money like Bernie's making money off of the Halo license, right? Where he had to go to them, get the Halo license, and now we can do Red versus Blue and sell DVDs and Blu-rays, and he must be making hundreds of thousands of dollars off that potentially. I don't know the facts. That's different than, I mean, look at the average metrics on a Let's Play video. We're making what, $10 off of that? So they're going to come in and take $3 out of that? Like what? I don't know. It's not enough of an incentive for us as creators to be like, shit, we really need your product. In reality, we can make, like, to us, it's pretty much even. It's just all about what we're passionate about. And we can go find other games we're passionate about.
But yeah, but if we're getting 70% of it, like, then we're just losing out on 30%.
So you say
no,
$10,
but I mean,
say $10,
yeah,
right? Okay, $5 goes to YouTube. Mm-hmm. Then we split the other 70%, so we get about $3 per video. Versus if we're going to go play another game, we get $5 per video, and we're just going to go play another game. That's what's going to happen.
That's what I'm saying. Like, to me, it's like, whatever, it's $2. Like, I understand that makes sense, but it's like, if we want to play the Nintendo games...
Sure, but then it's $2 plus times the loss of efficiency of having to get every single one of our videos approved. Are you kidding me with that?
Exactly.
Like, what kid sitting in his basement in Minnesota is going to be like this? Oh, I hope this one gets approved, and waits to make
a shit ton. Like, for that example, that's a bad example, because the kids sitting in the basement, that's all they want. To them, they see this as support from Nintendo, not as being held back.
I don't know. Like, I'm interested in that standpoint, because I haven't delved too deep into it, but I don't see anyone being positive about this, like, at all. Like, like, from the things I've read, some people are like, this is asinine.
Yeah, but the people that are responding, the people that are talking about this, are the ones that are either just completely uninformed and are just, like, angry to be angry about something, or it's the people that this is affecting, like us. Like, it is the YouTube creators who are upset, and that makes total sense. But for all the random kids, now they have a guarantee that they're protected by Nintendo. They're getting 70%. When
so
before,
it's protection.
They weren't. No, but that's what I'm saying, though. Like, if I never
sounds
worked,
like we own a liquor store and they come in.
No,
like,
but that's the thing, though. It's like they know that they can get that, so it's a guarantee to them. As long as this lasts.
I understand that, but also they say that the terms can change unilaterally,
of course,
whenever they want. But
always.
Yeah,
of course. But I'm sorry to interrupt. It's just like there are. We had Mega Ran on earlier, and we know Mega Ran. And when we was on Podcast Beyond, he was talking about how Capcom supported. He was scared. In fact, he talked about how he called himself Mega Ran because he didn't like. He was known as random, but he was afraid, like, if he was sampling Capcom music, which he was, that maybe he would get in trouble. And Capcom ended up coming to him, and they were like, no, this is, like, great, because they realized that, like, what if someone falls down the rabbit hole and is like, oh, that beat's awesome, that beat from Wily's awesome, no, that's Mega Man 2's Dr. Wily theme. Right. Oh, Mega Man 2, I haven't played Mega Man 2 in a while, and then they go and buy it. And like, and so they were all over it. It's the same reason why Mega Man. We were talking about fan films. Capcom lets you make fan games. Mega Man Cross Street Fighter is a fan made authorized Mega Man game that they helped put out.
They're not going to make Mega Man games.
No, that's true. Well, they will eventually. Or Mega Man Unlimited, where they're basically like, well, we can make a Mega Man game. We did. We just made Mega Man 9 and 10 and all this kind of stuff. But that's pretty cool that you care about it, and it's just good for our brand, and it gets people excited about it.
Yeah.
To me, that's just a no-brainer. Again, they're doing their thing, and that's fine. The good news about Nintendo doing this is it's not that disastrous for Kind of Funny or other people out there, because they only release a few games of any consequence every year. So it's like, we'll miss out on Zelda and Star Fox or something like that this year. Theoretically. But what if the bigger disaster, and I don't know, like, where everyone falls, like all the publishers fall into this, they probably have some rules that they probably just don't follow up on, and everyone has their different rules. But if, like, EA or Sony or Activision or Ubisoft, if they all started doing that, then we'd be in a lot of trouble.
But
the good news is that
all of them do. It's just not like no one cares because they talk about it for 1 week and then it falls away and just no one cares about it anymore.
And that's,
but we're seeing it.
Do we really feel like that's not going to be the case here as well?
I honestly, dude, I don't think this is going to affect much of anything when it comes to us. Like, I could be totally wrong about this, but, like, for any of the major players that get into a network, like Collective or Maker or any of them, they have totally different rules. So then it's like, we can talk to them. They have different connections with all these different people. Then it's like, well, we get a different split. Then all of a sudden it makes sense.
The concept of control, I have an issue with when it comes to YouTube, because the platform is fundamentally based on freedom. It is fundamentally based on creation in its purest state. And when you start having people come in and say, "Hey, we're going to approve different things for you," you are cutting out what makes. You're basically cutting out the thing that makes what we do special, which is that we get to do whatever we want to do whenever we want to do it. And there's a power to that, and that's why YouTube is the dominant platform.
But it's like selling a painting without buying the paint. Like you were
No,
using someone else's paint to make something.
By old definition of how we've always thought things should happen. Yes, you're 100% right. Again, no one's arguing the legality of it. It's the spirit of the law that people need to be that Nintendo really needs to look at and say, what are we doing by imposing these harsh restrictions on these content creators? Are we going against the grain of what YouTube and what really all of us stand for, which is we're not TV for the last 60 years, where we have to go through all these approval processes and you have to make sure that your product's represented correctly and it's not, there's all these rules and regulations. We're the opposite of that, which is why we're so valuable, is because people look at us because we love what we do and we love the products we put in front of them as influencers. And if we start taking a step back to that and taking a back seat to these big companies, then we will no longer have that much sort of power with our audience. We'll basically just be we will be seen as an arm of marketing for Nintendo and for Activision.
And that's the question I have here. This isn't the question. Is this happening yet? Are people signed up? Are the approval process happening? What do we know anything about the approval process? Because if I'm playing Smash, I'm like, oh man, Link's down B sucks. And then they're gonna see that and be like, "You can put this video up, but you can't say that."
There's a lot of questions about what about reviews or what about all this stuff, and can they take it down? I mean, that's the thing. They can. They are allowed to do all that. We'll see if they actually do. And that it's a very slippery slope. And like at the end of the day, I don't want people to misunderstand what I'm saying. Like I don't agree with this, and I think Nintendo's doing it wrong. And I wish they took a different approach. We're just like, hey, sign up for this program. We just fucking support it. Yeah. We are going to protect you, and you are going to get 100%. Go market our games and go have fun. Yeah. That's what I think they should do. But I'm just saying, I think that people that are like, fuck you, that's the wrong approach.
For the people who are like, fuck you, I think they are ignoring the fact that this is at least a step forward, as before when it was we own everything, lock, stock, and barrel. At least now they are trying to work with you, give you 70%. I give them that. I still agree fundamentally, yes, they own the product, they made the thing. I still think that's so weird to talk about, because you're talking about the paint and the painting and all this different stuff when it's like it's a platform, and then what happens in a Smash match is because of us, not because it's this weird. It is weird, but there's no way. There's no right or wrong to it. But I understand what you're saying, and I agree that legally they own it. But yeah, again, it just seems like such a dumb decision.
I have a question and then a comment. The question is: so Activision, Ubisoft, and everyone all have these kind of rules. Because that's what you said before.
I don't say they all do.
Because I've not heard that. I mean, maybe it's true, but I've not heard that.
Well, that's the thing, though. Is like all the different companies, they all do have rules. How they implement them and like where they're public, I don't know. But I mean
how
like,
they enforce them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that's the thing, though. Like every day people get copyright strikes for playing games, no matter what it is. Whether it's the music in Assassin's Creed or some other stuff. And I get that the music's some other thing, but it's just like, but Ubisoft could go in and be like, oh, no. The music is protected through whatever, but they don't.
Could they? Because that just seems like a YouTube error, because you could just upload the Assassin's Creed soundtrack, and then that's a giant problem, obviously.
Yes, but they could put in the whitelist thing for that and all this. What I'm saying is like, there's so much that goes into this, and there's so many facets in so much different ways. But when we look at last night I looked because I was like, are we getting dinged for this? We are not. We're just straight up not. The 100% thing, it hasn't been affecting us. We've been playing Smash Bros. So I don't know.
I mean, I also think that I don't know that they know how big of an uphill battle this is to actually enforce all this stuff. I mean, you need an entire division of your company to actually do this and work with YouTube and work with these individual creators. You're going to tell me that I'm going to submit a video. I am one of how many content creators are creating content around Nintendo, and those videos are going to, each and every one of those is going to get scrutinized and approved. It's not going to happen. And you're talking about thousands of videos a day that need to get approved. Mm-hmm. That's, I mean, I've seen this. I've seen it time and time again, because YouTube is such a new platform. We all forget about it, but 7 years is a drop in the hat when it comes to media. A drop in the pond, rather, when it comes to media. A drop in the hat would be a little bit bigger.
My hat's wet!
Well, who put this drop of water in my hat? But yeah, I mean, I think they're biting off a lot more than they can chew. And I think a lot of these other companies have been through this rigmarole already, where they're like, oh, we're going to start charging people. And like, holy shit, this is...
And then they back the fuck off.
Even to manage partners. Like, when we used to work at IGN, we'd manage partners, like the individual channels. It's a full-time job.
Well, it's managing channels.
Yeah.
Like, so you get 60% for videos.
You literally need hundreds, if not thousands, of employees to do this. So, good luck. Because you're going to get bogged down with this so fast, they're just going to forget about it.
And I just want to dispute one fact, because I disagree with something Greg said, which was that, like, well, it's a step in the right direction. But that's like walking into a toilet, like into a bathroom, and peeing all over the toilet, and then taking a napkin and cleaning it up and being like, well, it's clean now. And it's like, but you just pissed on it. You know what I mean?
I do that every day.
The toilet was already clean. You know, like you defiled the toilet, and then you cleaned it back up, and you're like, well, now it's better. But it's like the condition.
A step towards being clean. Which would be a step in the right direction.
It is a step in the right direction.
Defense
but the
he
point,
just said it is.
No, but the point is that the point is that the condition was made by them because again, I dispute their opening sentence. The rule is the rule, yeah, but like a lot of record labels and gaming companies don't do anything about those rules.
Yeah, but even more do. Like this, like when it comes to record labels or movies and all this stuff, like games are just different because it's weird and it's a new thing.
Yeah,
that's one of those things where it's like, yeah, we are making the content, but that's like it's the exact same thing as doing a movie commentary over movie footage. It's like, yeah, the content you're giving them is your commentary, but you were using their footage, like.
But see, like this is one of the things, and I know.
So you didn't like my Toilet
This is spiraling off into a different direction, of course. But I don't even feel it's the same because the movie will be the same movie you watch each and every time. Whereas even with the story-based linear game of Uncharted, the way I take down this enemy is going to be different than how Nick takes down this enemy. And when you're getting into something like Smash, the way we fight is, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And I'm not. This isn't where I don't want to fight this fight. I'm not trying to take this hill. I'm just saying that that's what I always think about when you watch somebody play. When you look at somebody on Twitch watching us play games, they go and buy Dying Light not because they want to relive the exact same moment we had when we took down those guys with the giant sledgehammers. No, they want to go and have their own story and their own world and their own thing. Whereas, like, yeah, me watching Fast and the Furious through YouTube off of somebody's stream or whatever would be me watching the exact same movie. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't go get that movie where I would go get that game.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a new platform, and all these, like, there's the South Park episode that covered Let's Plays. Like, they really nailed it on the head. Like, did you guys see that? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like the idea of why would he brings home the new Call of Duty, and his little brother just doesn't want to play because he's just watching it, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of the game companies, Nintendo included, probably look at that and they're like, oh, if people are doing this, they're just not going to buy the game, and they're not understanding this. And like that I know. Hard. But here's the thing, though. It's like we're talking about, like, oh yeah, we're selling games. But how many games are they not selling? Because there are other people that are like, I'm not going to play. I just want to
But those are people I don't think you could win to begin with. Those are the people who showed up last night to watch me play Criminal Girls invite only, knew they weren't going to buy Criminal Girls, but they wanted to check it out.
And I'm sure you sold a couple copies.
Exactly, and that's the thing. You get there's that 1%, right? If you can get 1% of this audience to go do that, that's something.
But then here's the business argument is, okay, that 1%, does that add up to how much money they are going to make from the YouTube revenue? Yeah. Right? And that's just business, and I understand it's business for right now, not for later. And again, I wish Nintendo didn't do this. It's fucking stupid. I do think it's a step in the right direction. That I do think at the core of it, it's Nintendo trying to be cool, but they're the fucking old weird uncle that he can't be cool, but he's trying, and he's doing it the wrong way, and he's putting his hands in places he shouldn't be.
Oh, Uncle Nintendo, no.
Here's the worrying thing about it. It's not that Nintendo, like, again, no one disputes the legality of it. It's the wisdom of it, right? And here's the frustrating part about it to me. Nintendo's a company with a lot of prestige and a lot of power. They make great games, right? They don't make many games anymore, but the games that they come out are great. That's one of the reasons why I'm not so worried about this. If they come after us at some point in the future, be like, fine, we just won't cover your games anymore. But to me, it's like now the other publishers and first parties are looking at this, and they can do one of two things, right? They can be like, this is a terrible idea. Look how people are beating up on Nintendo. We are cool for not doing this. Yep. And this is what I think, and just based on how Sony's treated everything the last 2 years, I think that they're going to take that tact. In my opinion. To be like, they probably have some rules somewhere.
To be
being
fair,
like,
though, no one's like, when I say no one, I'm saying it lightly, but people aren't playing Sony games on Let's Plays. Like, that is like
we're waiting for them to come out.
But that's such a small sphere. Like, Let's Plays are MOBAs, they are Minecraft style games, they are first person shooters, and Nintendo games.
But I mean, this goes back to the fact of, like, not to cut you off either, buddy.
It's fine.
The story based game of how many people played through the Left Behind and put it up in Last of Us, right? That is even more, I think, in tune with this argument, right? Of that is a story. Like the fact that you can Google Uncharted cutscenes and get the entire Uncharted game told in cutscenes, right? Like, that is a thing, and sure, they aren't as big as the MOBAs.
It is definitely a thing, but it is, the pie chart, it's ridiculous, like how big the sectors are for Nintendo or the things I just said.
But the point I'm trying to make, regardless of like who's doing it and how they're doing it, is that my assumption is that Sony will be like, no, we are for the gamers. This is what we've been doing. When a game actually worth streaming comes out, which there hasn't been many, like, from the first party in a long time, maybe Infamous or something like that, then, like, we're just going to let them do Uncharted and all that kind of stuff. Microsoft seems like they actually have some stringent rules as far as I understand. So we're going to see, like, when Gears and Halo come out, how that all shakes out. The thing I'm saying is that it worries me if they can see if EA and Ubisoft and all these companies, regardless of the rules, and it seems like it's nebulous, maybe they have rules and they don't enforce them, is that they can literally all gang up on everyone, and that's the worrying thing, where it'd be like, we're all gonna do it, and that could screw everything up, or companies deviate in the other direction and like, this is a bad idea, and then Nintendo's like, you're right, And that's like what I hope happens is that.
I do think that's what's going to happen.
I mean, there's also the issue of collective bargaining, right? Where you have, okay, they go all in, and then all the big MCNs go, okay, well now we need to negotiate these, because for all of our creators, who are, by the way, the top tier creators, if you're a top tier creator, you're probably partnering up with an MCN. They'd have to negotiate, which I know that in the past I've seen that have to happen. Where you're like, look, what's good for these individual contributors is not going to work for us. We have legitimate business to run. Let's figure out a better rate where we can license your games in perpetuity, but not for 30% of our revenue.
Yeah, 30% of the 50% we get.
Right. It needs to be more like 5 or 10% max. And then that's just free money. Why wouldn't they go for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just so interesting because I was fascinated by this, not because I was worried about it, because there are Nintendo centric channels that are going to be really affected by this, and I feel bad for them because they are going to lose a lot of money off this. If you're a big Nintendo channel that has millions of viewers and stuff like that, you're going to be screwed off this. Because they're basically just taking 30% of your money. I mean, that's like basically what's happening, as opposed to the 100% of the money in the condition that they created. And so, it's just weird to me that it's a conversation of not legality, but again, as Nick was saying, of wisdom. And what is the wisdom saying? What does the data say? Because surely these companies have data. Maybe Nintendo has data, like you were insinuating, that says like when someone watches someone play Smash Brothers, they don't buy Smash Brothers. But that doesn't make sense to me, because you were bringing up a game like Minecraft. Like Minecraft is Minecraft because of YouTube. You know what I mean? Like, and so all you have to do is look at a game like that, and everyone can dream. All the devs and publishers can dream of having a game like Minecraft, which grew because of word of mouth, not because of anything else. It was made by like a few people, Yeah. So like, and now it's like one of the top 5 best-selling games of all time because of the YouTube generation sharing it with each other, and that's so like they just have to. Hopefully, they take their blinders off and realize like, hey guys, like this doesn't affect so much Smash Brothers to me or Star Fox or Zelda. What it really says to me is like, think about the residents of Super Metroid, of us just playing Super Metroid and talking about. We just did a very brief Let's Play and introduced our video game book club for Super Metroid. Dude, we've sold for them, I would say, scores of copies of that game, and like, because we get tweets every day being like, I'm ready, I'm done, and I'm playing it so hard, or I'm really enjoying it, or it's not that good, or whatever their opinions are. But us talking about the game in as limited a way we have, with as limited a reach that we have, because we are very small compared to a lot of these great creators out there. The money is in game sales, just like the money in concert or money in music is in concerts, not record sales. That's why a lot of these bands let their live footage stay on YouTube. So it's the long game. You got to play the long game.
And again, that's what I'm saying is that once you start going through that rabbit hole, where does it stop? Because the power of what we're doing is that we're not trying to sell games. That's not our business. Mm-hmm. We're not out here trying to sell games for people. We're just out here playing games that we love. And if other people want to partake in them, should they choose to go buy that game, that's their prerogative. Right, I don't think we've ever said go buy this game right now. Go buy this game right now.
DC Universe Online, go buy that game right now.
Jesus Christ, with that, keep touting that flag. But yeah, I mean, it's just it really does come down to are you a company that wants to survive in this new wave of doing things, or are you really, really stuck to the old way? And there's got to be some in between. And I get that they're, in any negotiation, you go 100% in one direction and then you try to meet in the middle. My hope is that Nintendo wants to meet in the middle on some level. Otherwise, they are going to be assing out a lot of people, a lot of good content creators from showcasing their brand. But if that's the case, then so be it. It
is what it is. And I also think, this comes back to anyone who's read a lot about Nintendo and has been with Nintendo as long as, some of us, everyone at this table has, and I certainly have been. We learn a lot from Game Over, Console Wars, and books like that. Like, Nintendo's always been a company obsessed with control. And guess what? It's not working. You know what I mean? Like, it alienated third parties. It did all, it alienated your user base. It did all these things. It's not working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so it just, it all comes back to that central tenet of control. It worked when you were the only kid on the block. In NES and SNES, you were not the only kid on the block anymore. That's the big problem.
That's the hard thing with this new generation of creators, is that it's a leap of faith. You don't really know. I don't know if there are I'm sure there's companies out there that you can pay millions of dollars. They'll give you those hardcore analytics. But at the end of the day, it's almost instinctual. You just have to kind of take it on instinct that it's working, that this method of delivering your message to the audience works better than the old school methods that you've been used to for the last 50 years. And if you look at how things are have been marketed to people, like, there has been a huge uptake and a huge shift over to YouTube content creators because there is a more authentic experience, right? But that's definitely scary because you don't have any control over that. You don't have any control of what comes out of Colin Moriarty's mouth. No one puts Colin Moriarty in a corner.
No one can control.
One of the best things about Colin Moriarty is that he can't be put in a box.
He can't be put in a box.
We established that already.
He's like a cat, just arms all out.
Let me tell you this.
That's like going
Let me
in
tell
the
you
box.
this. If someone managed to get you in a box, that is not a box that I would want to unpack, my friend. I would not want to unpack that box.
If someone puts me in a box, is it a box at all?
I mean,
Think about that.
Fuck.
I don't even understand what that means.
Inception.
All right,
He can't
guys.
be put in a box, and he's put in a box. It isn't a box. That's what it means.
Holy shit. Okay.
It's a prison cell of lust.
So we're going to move on. That was riveting, and we talked way longer than I expected us to, but that was good.
No, it was fun.
I think the people are
We
gonna
have,
like
you know,
that.
we have things we need to say about this. It's
Yes.
It's very frustrating, dude. It all comes. I know you want to move on, Tim. I'm just gonna finish with this. Like, it all comes back to my eternal frustration with that company these days about how much I want them to win me back and how much I want to give them money and how much they just keep telling me they don't care. You know what I mean? Like, they're just a question. They just make questionable decisions over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I just, it's so frustrating. It's like, Nintendo, I want you to come back into my life. I want you to
back.
where are you at, Nintendo?
Where you at, Nintendo?
Where are you at, Nintendo?
All right. Second topic for today is the Star Wars Humble Bundle. So you guys familiar with Humble Bundle, right?
I am.
Okay, cool. Greg, do you want to explain it to people a little bit?
Humble Bundle is a service where they bundle together a bunch of games for a very, very low price.
So it's kind of name your price. And so for this, if you just pay whatever you want, you get Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, Star Wars Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, or Star Wars Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, and Star Wars Dark Forces. Then if you go a little over $10, you also get Star Wars Battlefront 2, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, and Republic Commando. And then for $12 or more, you also get Force Unleashed, the Ultimate Sith Edition, Force Unleashed 2, and Star Wars Emperor at War. So, what's cool about this to me is that everyone's all excited. Star Wars is back. The movie's coming out. We know Battlefront's coming out. Star Wars has a great lineage in video games.
Yeah.
And I feel like all of us at some point enjoyed a Star Wars game.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Maybe not some of those. Maybe some of those. I'm not sure.
Kidding me?
Yeah.
SWTOR's on that list.
Which one?
Of course, one of those.
Oh,
SWTOR.
oh yeah, yes. I've never heard it referred to as that.
Swarter?
KOTOR.
I heard KOTOR, not
I'm putting
Swart.
SWTOR out there.
Man.
Star Wars.
No, I'm
Knights
actually
of the Old
confusing.
Republic.
There's something else that is SWTOR. KOTOR is what I'm trying to say.
KOTOR. Yeah.
Yes, I know.
Oh,
We've
the Old
covered the
Republic
fucking
is
fact.
SWTOR.
Yes, thank you very
Gotcha.
much.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. Wow.
KOTOR is on that list.
My
And
question
two.
to you guys
Which
is,
was that?
what are your favorite Star Wars game memories, and what are you excited for? Are you guys excited for Battlefront?
My favorite Star Wars games. KOTOR is a great game, but my favorite Star Wars games are the Super Nintendo Star Wars games. Those are-
Really?
Yeah, those are extraordinary. Those are
so
extraordinary
good.
games, and I think
So
I want to
good.
feel like what's so weird about them is I
Not
feel
Star
like
Wars. The first one was kind of crap. but-
Super Star Wars, Super Empire, Super Jedi. Yeah,
Super Empire was amazing.
I think they got better actually as they went along.
They
But I feel like JVC and some like weird people were behind these games, like totally random.
The television people?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like they published them
Stereo.
and they were. I might be remember. I think that's true. And I remember my brother had all three of those games. We'd play them. They're hard, and I feel like it's interesting to play a 2D technically limited game like that tries to retell the entire story. So you're like, there's a stage where you're like on the sand crawler, like you're never on the sand, like really on the sand crawler, except for like as 3PO and R2, but like you're on it somehow.
We should go
like
back and play those.
I've been thinking about it a lot. I feel like they might be on
go
Virtual
back and play
Console. I'm not
those.
positive about that.
I don't think they are.
I feel like, yeah, I thought that maybe they were because I have them and I don't know where the hell they are. They're back home. But those games were really good and they were hard and they changed a lot, which was really cool. They remind me a little bit of the G.I. Joe games. I don't know if you guys played the Taxon G.I. Joe games on NES.
No.
That there was two of them. They were actually made by different developers and you would pick a different character. You can play Snake Eyes, plays Duke or whatever, and the game kind of changed depending on who you played as. In this game, in the Star Wars games, there was different feels to the game and different ways you went about things. And I remember those games being extraordinary. And I had TIE Fighter and I had X-Wing and all these games on my PC. I didn't really care for them. I wasn't really into those kinds of games.
I loved X-Wing.
It just wasn't really my kind of game. I mean, I admire and respect the hell out of those games.
That's where you're flying in space, right? Fighting stuff?
Yeah.
All right.
But then I didn't really fall in love with games again until like Rogue Squadron
Never tell me you're screwing with me.
then
No, that was a real question.
And then KOTOR.
KOTOR, come on.
And am I excited about Battlefront? I am, but like the last time we played Battlefront was on PSP.
Yeah.
And
I reviewed it. IGN.
And I just don't like multiplayer. Like it's just if it's multiplayer centric and whatever. I don't
That's
care.
my big concern with Battlefront. If it is
Give me a campaign.
continuation that's just multiplayer, it won't just be multiplayer, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
if it was, The PSP ones were fine, but yeah, I mean, Knights of the Old Republic. Come on, that's what motivated me to buy my Xbox. That was one of the big ones. Is why I bought the Xbox, and then
There's Halo, and then that.
I mean, dude,
I didn't even care about Halo. I was just so into what I went to a friend's house and played for like 10 minutes. I was like, holy shit, this is awesome.
I never played Knights of the Old Republic. I did play Jedi Knight. I played all of it because I was a big PC gamer back in the day. So I played, I think it was the Dark Forces.
Yeah, there's 2 of those, I think.
Whatever there was. Kyle Katarn was one of the main characters in one of them, and then there was Dash Rendar, which I think
that was Shadows of the Empire.
That was Shadows of the Empire. So Kyle Katarn must have been. He was Jedi Knight for sure. I can't remember who you played as in that first PC game. I gotta look this up. But I was obsessed with X-Wing, obsessed with TIE Fighter, and I always remember this story. My good friend Clay Wilkinson back in the day.
Shout out Clay Wilkinson.
7th grade. He's a lawyer now. Lives in LA. Was like, you got to play this. This is awesome. Started playing, and I was like, this game is terrible because I was playing with a keyboard and mouse. And he's like, no. You can't. The mouse for some reason wasn't responsive. You got to get a flight stick. So I went and I got one of these badass $200 flight sticks that I had to save up for frig all ever, and it just changed the game completely. And from that, because I was huge into like Ace of the Pacific and like Red Bear and all those games. So X-Wing was amazing. TIE Fighter I played a little bit less because they started putting a couple other different mechanics in there. And then when I think it was Dark Forces. I got to look this up. Dark Forces came out, and it was the first-person shooter that they did. It was like Doom. It was on rail, not on rails, but you didn't have an XY access. You just kind of like were here. That was amazing because I remember you get the thermal nuclear detonator and just throw that bad boy out and just wreck fools. And that was the precursor to Jedi Knight. Which when Jedi Knight came out, that was the fully realized you can do first person or third person, and you had the lightsaber. And not only did you have the lightsaber, but you had the lightsaber and you could deflect shit with it. And I just hours was like, who's coming at me? Oh, what you got? What you got, dog? You ain't got nothing? You ain't got nothing? Because no one could touch you if you had the damn lightsaber and you just kind of stayed prone and like aimed it toward it. That was dope. And you had the force powers too, which was cool. And it was one of the first times that they let you do, you got to choose whether or not you're going to go light or dark. And so you played the game twice because you played I wanted to get all the way light and all the way dark. I didn't want that mix. The mix is bullshit.
No.
You got to go all the way light or all the way dark.
Yeah,
so you can max all your force powers. So those early LucasArts games were amazing. I didn't play the one with Starkiller though. Either of those.
Oh, Force Unleashed.
Force Unleashed. I didn't play those.
They were fun, but they were like popcorn. You blew through them. They were, there was nothing really to it, right? You're smashing shit, killing shit. It was. I liked them. They were fun.
They're enjoyable.
Yeah,
definitely.
exactly.
I know people that love them.
Really?
Kevin loves those games.
Loves them.
Yeah,
they're beautiful to look at.
I was a little
because of Sam Witwer.
I was a little too young for the PC games for all that because I remember the kid across the street had all those, and like I remember he loved them so much. He kept trying to get me into them, but I just couldn't wrap my head around it because I was a dumb little kid.
You dumb Tanner.
But the Super Nintendo games, I loved those. But I worry that they don't hold up because a lot of the 2D platformers that aren't Mario or like the core stuff for Super Nintendo, when you go back and play it, like a lot of the Disney games like Lion King and Aladdin and stuff that you remember and you're like, those are amazing. You play them, it just feels super floaty and all that. And I worry that Star Wars would be a lot floatier than I wanted it to be.
I think I played through those games like twice a piece. I remember I remember playing Empire Strikes Back first and going, oh my god, this is amazing. Then I played Jedi, and then for some reason I got my hand. I don't know why I always do this shit out of order.
The opening of Jedi was hard as shit. I just remember that. You know that like speeder thing.
Yeah, Sculpture. I was looking it up. First of all, the games are on Virtual Console, so I'm gonna be.
Oh, really?
I'm gonna be. I remember that clearly that they put those up.
I will play for those with you.
Yeah, and I feel like we should do playthroughs of those for sure. But yeah, it's a defunct studio now, but Sculpture Software had teamed up with LucasArts to do these games, and they were around since '85, and they did like a shit ton of games. But those were, I think, they did like the Punisher on Genesis and WWF Raw on Genesis. So like a bunch of random ass games, but they did the Doom port for SNES, so they were basically like a porting studio. But those games were special. But KOTOR was the last game that came that Star Wars, except for I really liked Rogue Squadron 3 on GameCube, which was
3. You liked 3?
Yeah. Well, I was talking about in the time of KOTOR because Squadron came out fall 2003, if I remember correctly, or early 2004. KOTOR came out in the summer of 2003, and I remember I bought my Xbox just to play KOTOR, and I wrote the guide for IGN for it to pay for the Xbox, because there was nothing really on Xbox that was intriguing me at the time. I ended up going back and play Halo and all that kind of stuff, but I bought it to play KOTOR because I'm like, this game's great, and it was obviously a great, beautifully realized, BioWare RPG, and it wasn't the last great Star Wars game I really remember. That's why I brought up was Rogue Squadron 3, which a lot of people hated because of the on-foot parts of the game, but I really enjoyed the hell out of that game. Like it maybe wasn't the same as the other Rogue Squadron games, but I really enjoyed it. It reminded me of the same reason why I kind of liked like Star Fox Adventures and stuff. I'm like, it's not the Star Fox game you want, but it's the Star Fox game you have.
Oh my god!
You know what I mean?
God.
It's not the Star Fox. It's not the Star Fox game you want. It's the Star Fox game you have. You don't understand what I'm saying? I remember Star Fox Adventures. Quick tangent. Paid for it with Coinstar money.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, you took all your change in?
Yeah.
Nice.
And then I got the little receipt. I cashed it out and I went and bought Star Fox Adventures.
Man, I hope you enjoy.
Also known as Dinosaur Planet.
Yeah, God, I'm not even gonna get started on that. That's a fucking disaster.
Where do you guys come down on Shadows of the Empire?
Great game.
Yeah.
Before I owned it, did I don't even know if I ever actually bought it. I was gonna say my memory of Shadow of the Empire. Maybe I bought it later on eBay. I don't even remember. But there used to be a game when I lived in New Hampshire. There was a place called Game Exchange. It was like an independent game store. And I used to go there and like rent games all the time, buy games from them. You bring, as the name suggests, you exchange games with them.
Yes.
And I remember that was the only game. They had a thing in the back where you could rent an N64, rent the PlayStation, and pay for like an hour at a time and play games. And that's the only game I ever did that for. Was it was before I owned an N64. I think it was like 97.
Which one's Shadows of the Empire? I don't remember this.
It was the first N64 one.
Oh, was it? Yeah, I was thinking, did I own an N64 at this time? I don't remember. The only thing I remember is that I basically would rent by hour to play Shadows of the Empire, and because I was so riveted by it.
Yeah.
And maybe it was because I couldn't afford the game. And to me, it was kind of a motley mix of things in that game, really, when you go back and look at it. But a special game, I think.
Yeah, I think
pod racing.
I was just about to bring that up. So like the Rogue Squadron games, they're great. They never clicked with me. None of them. 1, 2, and 3. All of them just they didn't feel like Star Fox, and that was the problem to me. Is like I wanted like it to feel just like Star Fox, and it didn't, and that's my own hang-up. But for me, the N64 and PlayStation era games, while they're not the best, are definitely my favorites. Like I have such fond memories of horrible games like Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace on PlayStation. Like I played through that so many times just because, and I feel like everyone my age had that game and like remembers that game.
Yeah.
But fucking Episode 1 Racer. Holy shit.
Right.
That game is legitimately fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of
Like,
fun.
it's a fun game. Like there's so much like quirks to it. Being able to do the race from the movie, and it was the exact same course. That's awesome. And like you can hook up 2 N64 controllers and like control it like he actually did.
Yep.
And like you just pretend some bulb was next to you and just like talk in the accent and do all that.
Annie.
Yeah, exactly. It was just riveting. Simply.
And
riveting.
that was the one too where there was a hidden Episode 2 ship in it, right? And when Episode 2 came out, they revealed the code or whatever to
I
unlock
think
it or
that
some shit
was
like that.
Jedi. What was Starfighter?
Okay.
That you're talking about.
And
on
what am
PlayStation 2.
Am I thinking of 1, 2 that in this time period of the Episode 1, 2, 3 time period on PlayStation 1?
Jedi fucking power battles.
Yes, and
Okay.
you can play. I played through that one a lot.
So to me, it all led up to that. Jedi Power Battles is my favorite Star Wars game of all
Really?
time. It is. I love it. I played so much. You could level up to like level 100 or whatever.
Yep.
And it had like light RPG.
you
elements.
get to play. You get to choose who you go in.
Yep,
you level
could
them
be
up and deal stuff.
You could be Mace Windu.
Yep.
You could be Obi-Wan. You could be Qui-Gon Jinn.
We have
Some chick. I don't remember the chick. Or my boy Plo Koon, who Brian Albert knows all about.
me and my friend Michael Bryan had a theory about Qui-Gon Jinn, that he wasn't really dead and that he was actually a Sith or something like that. Because if you remember, in Episode 1, he gets stabbed and doesn't disappear.
Yeah.
And somebody asked George Lucas in an interview, what's the deal with that? And Lucas, of course, like, it's going to be explained. Don't worry. It's a story. It's something to the story. And everybody's like, oh. And then in Jedi Power Battles, Qui-Gon was super weak. And we're like, this is another Easter egg. This is tied into why he didn't disappear. He's not a true Jedi. Da, 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 da. None of it ever mattered. But that's like how to the level we analyzed this.
But those games, I remember playing so much they were co-op and they were so much fun. They were glitchy as shit. I don't think I've ever played a glitchier game in my entire life.
I remember that
but
too.
But like the camera was horrendous and all that. But
I remember the save screen was super confusing too, because Poe overwrote my save at one point. I'm like,
that's true.
It's like whatever, but it was like I couldn't blame him because I know how screwed up it was to get in to say you want to do this but not do that. I remember it was all screwed up.
Man, it was good though.
What I'm remembering, it's so funny because I'm having a senior moment almost where I'm like, I don't know, it's unrelated but related, where I'm going so far back into my gaming memory now that I don't even remember like I remember when games came out, but it's like, when did I have these, like when did I buy a console and like when did I buy a game? Like I'm starting to like forget.
Yeah, you're saving over that information. I hear you.
Like, like PS2 and GameCube I remember really well, but everything before that I'm like, it's like a blur of like Toys R Us aisles and sheets in your hand, and I have like no idea when the hell everything was going on. But I think around the time, I say that because I think around the time that Shadows of the Empire came out, there was a PC game that came out that I bought for my Sony Vaio called Yoda Stories, which was the biggest piece of shit. I don't. Did you guys ever play this game?
I never played
it. It was a randomly generated. We gotta look this up and play it. It was fun for like an hour, but it's like a randomly generated like procedural game where like you are Yoda, on a random planet. It's like kind of isometric, if I remember correctly, and like you walk around and like do side quests, and then like it's just random. Like you have to go find something in some place. It's kind of like Chip's Challenge, in like in some weird way. And I think it was around the time of Shadows of the Empire, and I remember not liking that game. And the other game that I think came out later was a late PS1 game, if I remember correctly, was something Battle of Terrascasi or
Masters of Terrascasi, the fighting game,
Terrascasi, which was like the fucking worst. And I remember that
I don't think that was late PS1. I think that was
like 98, maybe 99.
Well, I mean, it must have been. I think it was like mid, because like late would have been Jedi Power Battles. And
yeah, that's a good
Phantom
point.
Menace and all that.
I look at PS1 as 95 to 2000, that time frame.
Yeah.
So yeah, somewhere in the middle maybe. I remember that game coming out. I remember PSN or PSM, PlayStation Magazine, talking about it, and you can fight as plays Boba Fett. And I remember being really excited about it. I remember renting that game.
Oh, I rented it too.
And being, because I'm like, I don't have the money to buy. I was buying so many JRPGs at the time. I had no fucking money. Excuse me. And I was like, what?
Yeah,
the fuck is this?
I rented that and Beast Wars Transmetals, which was a Beast Wars fighting game on N64. I rented them at the same weekend, and it was just two horrible fighting games. And like,
struck out on
even
that
as a
one,
kid, I knew that they were bad, and like for some reason that didn't affect my playthroughs of fucking Phantom Menace. But yeah, man,
it's just incredible to me. Like the 95 to 2000 era is becoming this muddled disaster in my head, where I like kind of know when things happen, but also kind of I'm starting to forget. You know what I mean? It's kind of scary. Like, I attach Yoda's story with Shadows of the Empire, but I'm not even sure if that's real. You know what I mean?
Does Yoda's story exist?
Like, it definitely does. I remember that. I remember buying that game and like busting my mom's balls to get it for me and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm sorry, Mom.
Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah, because it was around that. I played PC games for just a little while. It must have been around that same time. It's so weird though. But it's easier for me to identify the early Super Star Wars games because that was in a much calmer part of my life when I didn't have my own money, so that I just got the games I got. But by the time you got into the mid 90s and I had was mowing lawns and shit like that, buying consoles and games,
it's a great time to come back into this conversation.
Buying the only thing I remember just specifically about that is when I got my PlayStation, because I got it for Final Fantasy 7. That's basically it.
Yeah,
I remember that moment because I sold all my Super Nintendo games
from this moment.
Mistake. I had to go back and buy them later.
I hate that. We all did that.
Yep.
I sold one of my first copy of Pokemon Red, which was not my first Pokemon game. My first one was Blue, so I would have never sold my original game. But I sold my Red to Funkoland for Episode 1 Racer. That was a mistake. That was a big,
you had to do it.
mistake.
You got to make ends meet sometimes.
I remember getting Pokemon Red just because all my friends had Blue, and I was like, I want Blue. I like Blue better than Red, but
it's way better.
But I got to get Red, and we got the link cable, and it all worked out in the end. But yeah, Funkoland was both a blessing and a curse.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Those newspapers, man.
Yep. Go through there with your highlighter, trying to figure out exactly how much money you'd be able to make. Net out to buy your next game.
That's a dead period, man. It was awesome. I remember how excited the last time I went to Funkoland before they I don't know when it happened, but they sold themselves off to like EB or something at some point.
Yeah, they all got roped into that.
And I remember that was like a year or two before that happened. That was the last time I went in and I got Mega Man 6. And that was a good moment for me.
R.I.P. Funkoland.
That was a good moment.
I just remember the logo looked unnecessarily colorful.
Oh god, it was
I loved the commercials
so
where the
90s.
hand came through with the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, guys. Next topic. Kojima wants to make a open world remake of Metal Gear Solid 1, but he says he's too busy, and he says that no other studio has stepped up yet.
Sorry, if you just heard scratching, it was because Colin was scratching his crotch.
Sorry,
He's got something on there.
I have a little ketchup from my lunch. I had eggs and rice for lunch.
It's aptly placed right on top of your penis.
It's a good place. It's one of my favorite places in the entire world.
I forgot we're not doing the GOG show.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's fun.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah, so he wants to do this.
Yeah,
He's a
What do
busy
you
guy.
guys
which
thoughts
isn't
on this?
news.
No,
Which
exactly.
That's so far he attached open. Now, don't get me wrong. You know that I love Kojima. I'm not knocking this, and you know that I love Metal Gear Solid. So I want this to happen. But in 2013, he made this announcement. He'd love another studio to work on it. In 2014, he talked about it again. Now in 2015, here he is, and all he's done is added open world to it.
Well, I think to me that's the biggest issue with this, because I
What's the
want him to
big-
do this.
what's the
I
biggest
definitely want a remake of Metal Gear Solid 1.
Yeah.
We already got it with Twin Snakes.
And it
but
was
the idea-
amazing.
I really like Twin Snakes.
I love Twin
A lot of-
Snakes.
a lot
That's
of
why I
hate. Where do you
bought my
come down on this?
GameCube.
Oh, Twin Snakes was good.
Really?
First person broke
Yeah.
it. The Gray
Yeah,
Fox
it did
Ninja
break
Battle,
it.
he just stood on one side of the office and shot.
Yeah.
Some motherfucker, by the way, I said that, on Twitch. And then it broke the Gray Fox battle. And they're like, you mean Revolver Ocelot? And I'm like, no, granted, same argument, but Gray Fox was really hard. Revolver was never hard, just running around the pillars with him.
But now it made it really easy.
Exactly. Yeah, you just stood in one spot and then they picked him around. But like the Gray Fox, I remember me and Poe playing through the ninja battle forever. He's like sweat, like the giant beads of sweat as you're playing, trying not to. And then like in this one, just run back into a locker and just.
Yep. Exactly. But. And also, there was all the VO changes and stuff, which I never had that big of a deal with, and all the ninja acrobats and stuff. People, you need to calm the fuck down.
Rob Paulson came into play.
What?
Rob Paulson was a ninja in that game.
Really?
Gray Fox. I didn't know that either, so somebody tweeted at me about it.
Huh.
And I believe him.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Anyways, I would love a remake on the new gen systems
yes.
and stuff. Like, I think they'd look beautiful, and I think it'd be a great playthrough for a lot of people that haven't played Metal Gear 1 somehow. But
you're all monsters.
this open world idea.
That's me.
What the hell? That's what doesn't make sense to me. It's like, all right, MGS5's open world. Cool. That's going to be a new experience and stuff. You can't make Metal Gear Solid 1 open world. Like, Metal Gear Solid 1, it's like Resident Evil, or it's like Metroid and all this stuff, where it's like Shadow Moses was a thing.
Yeah.
Like, you were in
are
a
you
building.
remaking that? Like,
That's what he's saying.
it's a complete remake?
That doesn't exist, but yeah.
Well, that's what I'm
He's saying
like,
he'd love the remake to be made, but also be open world.
That'd be awesome.
And you're on Shadow Moses Island.
It doesn't really make any sense, though.
I mean, you could have the facility and then just be able to explore out into the island and have new buildings and facilities.
But that's the thing, for it to be open world, that would require it to be Metal Gear Solid 1 plus all this other shit. And that just it just makes no sense.
But it could be like Ground Zeroes, where you're playing through one story. That's the story, but then there's all these little side missions to go do or whatever to go off on the side. And I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's an easy sell. I'm with you that Metal Gear should be remade and probably just still be Metal Gear. But
yeah, I think that. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Tim. It doesn't make any sense unless the game's totally rewritten, because the idea. It's great that you brought up Resident Evil. Very astute, I think, because Shadow Moses Island does remind me of the mansion in Resident Evil or or Ishimura in Dead Space. Like, it's a place you exist in and go back and forth in, but it's not really an open world. It's just a non-linear space, like the castle in Castlevania or something. It's the in Symphony of the Night or something. It's the same thing. You're backtracking all over the place.
It's like
but
you go through the same thing multiple times. You're familiar with the area, and it's like, oh, now you have this key, so you can go through this door. Like all these different things.
I wonder if something was lost in translation with that. Like, with him.
No, he's making an open world Metal Gear now, right?
He is, but he is, but he knows MGS well enough to know that that's not an open world game. So I'm wondering like what the intent is what he's saying. If he means
he's trying to entice people on it. No one's buying his No one's buying.
Look what happened to the last. Look what happened to the last company that made a Metal Gear game.
Yeah, they made one good game and then they kept screwing up. Nobody's biting on this, so now he's trying to spruce up the deal. It's like when you're trying to sell your friend Tim a vacuum, and the conversation's gone really cold after the first offer of buying the vacuum, and now you're like, you know what? I'll throw in an HDMI controller.
Open world vacuum, Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think it's a matter of pacing, right? Like the beauty of Metal Gear Solid to me, and even over Metal Gear Solid 2, which I think is a better game, is the pacing of the game.
Sure.
How you run in, like, I'll never forget. I can see in my head as clear as day how you go through that game and how you encounter the enemies in the order when you encounter Vulcan Raven or something like that. Like where it happens.
Your first introduction to Sniper Wolf.
Sniper Wolf.
Meryl's just talking.
Or when you see the most beloved of all Metal Gear enemies, Decoy Octopus.
How can we forget? Let's not forget.
I've heard of him.
Like there's something special about moving through that game in a certain way. You're able to backtrack somewhat, but not always. And it's not like Mega Man where it's like you go in any order you want. And that's the thing that disturbs me when they're talking about an open world Metal Gear game. Is that no, it's Revolver Ocelot first, then it's Vulcan Raven. You don't do them in the other. No, because I feel like you're getting more weapons and new weapons and different things. Like the game works with a certain rhythm that I don't think works. I actually think Big Shell would be an easier place to do an open world-ish game if you had multiple shells. But even then, it would rewrite the game itself. Like Metal Gear games are not open world until 4 or until 5.
Potentially, but I mean, aren't you? Open world is such a misleading term because you are working your way through a linear story. Like most open world games have a linear story. It's their A plot that you have to work your way through. Like Grand Theft Auto had it, Fallout had it, everything has it. You are achieving objectives one at a time, and they are coming one after each other. So I still think you can base a game like Metal Gear off of that. But then you're right, you just have a bunch of crazy side quests that you probably don't need to do, or you can go do, and they're just totally crazy, and people are going to spend millions of hours doing them and having fun with it.
Well, see, but that's Ground Zeroes. Like that. Yeah. That is the story that Ground Zeroes has. That is very just kind of okay, there's a very thin thing happening. You got to rescue this person. That's it. But with Metal Gear, it's like the only reason you're in this place is to do this thing. And like outside of it, if there was weird, like it'd be weird having side missions in the story of Metal Gear Solid 1.
We're trying to stop
like,
nuclear war, but hey, can you please find my monkey? He got away with my Drebin points.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if Drebin's just chilling.
You know they'll do something stupid.
But it just doesn't make sense to
It's
do
hard,
a
but
remake of Metal Gear Solid 1 and add that stuff.
Pardon the ignorance. Does Arkham Asylum count as an open world? No, right? That's kind of a linear. It's kind of a more enclosed.
That's like the mansion.
Yeah.
Arkham City
Open
is an open world game.
Yes.
But Arkham Asylum is what my
Metroidvania.
brain goes and thinks to, which is like you have a little bit of a sandbox playing environment per each little moment and stage, but you're still kind of following through in a linear path. You can go backward if you need to go get new and achieve, like, get bigger goals. Like, you level up and go back and finally get that weapon that you needed to pass. But it's not a true open world experience. Maybe that's kind of what he wants to do with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Still doesn't sell you.
How
about if I throw in a cup of coffee?
I understand what you're saying. I think my bigger hang up is that I just don't think Metal Gear Solid needs to be touched again. Like, Metal Gear Solid's already been remade, so move on.
Yeah.
Like
it
Metal
really
Gear
doesn't need to be. And like, even if we just got, like, recently saw Resident Evil remastered. Yeah, that's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
The remake remastered. Yeah. If we just got Twin Snakes remastered, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I'd be absolutely fine with that as well. The bigger hang up with that is did Nintendo publish that game?
Yeah.
So that's not going to happen.
Now we have to pay 70%.
So this might be we actually might be getting the core of the issue, which might be that Kojima wants a new remake because he doesn't own the other remake. So like he can't do anything with it. I think Silicon Knights was funded by Nintendo to do that game, and Kojima produced it.
I mean, he definitely loves putting out freaking collections of Metal Gear.
He sure
swear to
does.
God.
Yeah, I mean,
God bless.
And he loves, and he has like a random obsession with. I mean, he has a random obsession with a lot of things, obviously, but he likes going back randomly to old games. I mean, they just patched trophies into 4 last year, which is weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, it might just be on his mind. Like the original Metal Gear Solid just might be on his mind as he makes this new game. But I would rather. I think Metal Gear Solid 2 is the best Metal Gear game. With that said, I never beat 3 and 4. I got most of the way through, and I was like, I can't stand this game.
Oh my God.
Peace
I
Walker,
love
son,
those so
the
much.
best.
3 I didn't like because it got too into the weeds. We've talked about this many times. The game's like way too in the weeds. Like when I saw that my rations were getting eaten and stuff, I was like, "What the fuck?" Like I just want to chill, Like I don't like just leave me alone. Let me do my thing. And the camo and all this shit. Metal Gear Solid 3 rubbed me the wrong way. I've always meant to go back and play it though again. But 2 is so
Gameplay
good.
wise, it's
oh
so
my
good.
God, that game is so good, and I'd like to see them reimagine that game and remake that game.
I would be shocked if that ever happened.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing I want them to do. Just bring Peace Walker to Vita with trophies. And, that's not going to happen.
I mean, yeah, that should have happened.
It should have.
Like,
the collection came out,
I
but it was
can't
just the
believe
PSP
that-
version.
that's so upsetting to
and
me.
then on PS3, there is the version with trophies. And
Yeah.
It's like,
It's
guys.
like, why didn't you just do this? And it's
Yeah.
like, because you can download the PSP version. It's like,
Like,
well,
that doesn't have
that's not
trophies.
HD.
That's not what I want.
Yeah.
My suspicion is that with Konami's limited resources that they saw, and Metal Gear Collection didn't probably do very well in Vita, and so they were like, "There's no reason for us to do this in QA
Well,
again."
that's the thing is the collection should have had it because it didn't.
At the get-go, yeah.
PS3.
It should have had 1 too.
Well, exactly, and that's the other problem. Is so far, all the collections they have all the discs and they have all the stuff except for one. And that's a download code of just the original, which is fine. But when all the rest of them look similar, or at least 2 and 3, so I guess it's not all of them, but at least they're all HD. They're all up-resed, but except for 1. So a remake would be tantalizing.
Tantalizing.
Yeah. All right. Last topic: best-selling games of all time. This has been brought up because
Peace Walker.
No. Peace Walker's not on the list. Damn it. Definitely not.
Moonwalker.
Moonwalker is probably on the list. It's probably pretty low. Technically, every
Maybe not
game.
that
There's
is
a list with
on the
Moonwalker
list.
on it somewhere.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
gotta be.
yeah.
It's a specialist.
Oh, we're gonna do a Moonwalker Let's Play.
Yeah, we
That'll
are.
be something special.
We should do that.
But all right, so
Wasn't
Grand
that game
Theft
only
Auto
like 3
5.
levels?
I don't know, but there was a great thriller level though. That was good.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So Grand Theft Auto 5 is now the second most selling game of all time.
Really?
V
That's
for victory.
nuts. Like that means it sold more than Mario Bros.
Wait, is it the highest grossing or highest selling?
It
there's a
sold the
difference.
most units,
Yes.
Units. Okay, so it
and
literally
it certainly made the most money.
Yeah. So okay, Colin, you have a little more information on this because you're fancy
Numbers.
and you can talk about numbers and stuff.
All right, so Grand Theft Auto. So Take-Two is the publisher that owns, a lot of different publishing brands, but ultimately publishes Grand Theft Auto. Even though Rockstar's its own company or whatever. So they announced that 45 million copies of Grand Theft Auto 5 have been shipped in. Shipped in, of course, means shipped to retailers, not sold to consumers. It doesn't matter. People get hung up on this all the time. They don't ship copies to games that are not going to be sold to consumers. They're not stupid. So this is essentially a projected will hit this number, and it's 45 million.
Can't they ship the games back though? Isn't that how retailers work? If they don't sell a specific amount of units, they actually ship them back. They do it with comics.
No, have you seen all that like random Corey in the House? That's So Raven GBA games at like Blockbuster. They don't ship them back.
No, I have not seen either of those. But I'll go next time
What
I'm at a Blockbuster. I'll
Blockbuster
take a
are you
look.
Yeah,
going
I'm
to?
messing up. The Target, whatever.
Well, the point I'm making is that the last time they announced their numbers, they were shipped in and they hit the numbers sold in 2 months. So they're projecting out 2 months again, I think, for like what they're going to sell. And presumably this can counts digitally. 45 million copies of the game have been sold. 45 million copies of Grand Theft Auto. It is the best-selling non-bundled game of all time. You know, let that wash over
money.
you. The best-selling game of all time is Wii Sports. Doesn't count in my mind because it's a bundle.
It's bundled with every Wii, yeah.
So and according to the
game
chart,
that I argued
it's
was, like,
it's about 83 million. That doesn't really count. No one. I mean, you could buy Wii Sports, I think, actually. But because Wii's did come without it, like the Wii Minis and all those kinds of things. So I think that there must have been a way to go back and buy it later. Like, remember the Canadian like weird ass Wii's that were released?
Weird.
So Grand Theft Auto 5 is officially the best-selling non-bundle game of all time.
What's crazy about that too is that that's a $60 game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I would wonder it probably is the highest grossing game of all time.
Oh, it is. They made $1 billion in a day on that game.
Yeah. Well, no, they said that. Wasn't one of the Call of Duties one of the highest grossings?
Well, this
It was before this.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then I was gonna say. I remember like Black Ops or Black Ops 2 or something like that was like.
It was
took
Black
the
Ops
Biggest
2
entertainment launch of all time. I remember.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto. As far as I remember, Grand Theft Auto 5 made $1 billion in 24 hours,
it did.
which is insane.
Yeah.
Because the game I think probably cost no more than $500 million to make, which is still an insane amount of money. Which means that they made $500 million in profit. Like they made assuming the game was as expensive, including marketing, as Destiny, which is probably a safe assumption. Rockstar probably employs about 1,000 people to make a Grand Theft Auto game.
They probably don't. Well, no, they throw a shit ton of money behind marketing of that game.
Sure.
So I was gonna say they probably step back because of the namesake, but they don't. They go full in on their marketing campaign.
Absolutely, but I think Destiny was the most ambitious marketing campaign in gaming history as far as money. Yeah, as far as money is concerned, obviously, and with a first party too with Sony. And they made the crazy thing about this, and I was talking to Tim about this before, was make assumptions about certain console sales numbers, right? About 80 million PS3s, about 80 million Xbox 360s, is 160 million units. About 20 million PS4s, and about 10 million Xbox One. So that's about 190 million units consoles. That means that the attach rate of these games are 1 in 4 across all of the platforms it's available on. The game's not available on PC yet, which is incredible. And what's even crazier is assuming that a person owns... I was talking to Tim, I'm like, you have to assume with these particular consoles, PS4, PS3, Xbox 360, and Xbox One, that maybe about 80 million, 85 million people own these consoles. And what that means is that some people own one console and some people own 4, and somewhere in the middle... the number is. So it's about probably 80, 85, 90 million people. That means half of them own Grand Theft Auto 5. Half the people that own a console own Grand Theft Auto 5. That's fucking insane.
Yeah.
That's completely insane.
Well, they were smart too, right? Didn't they get the up-res version ready for next gen, like right off the bat? Wasn't it one of the first games you could buy?
It was ready in the fall. They were clearly working on it, and it was rumored to have been worked on. The crazier thing is that only 10 million of those were sold next gen. That means 35 million of them were sold on PS3 and 360.
To just up-res, which I have to assume is a hard process, especially for an open world game, but it's not as hard as it probably used to be.
Yeah.
Especially if you're Rockstar and you're probably building them in tandem, like I would have to imagine that they
Right. Well, you're working on the
like,
PC version. That's going to be an easy port to this and all these different things.
That's just an extra 10 million copies sold. I mean, how many developers?
But for the record,
they
went really far.
It was like
the
above and beyond.
version.
It wasn't just like, oh, hey, it's nicer looking.
Here's
it
first person mode. Here's new quests. Here's new missions. Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. That's like. You really do. You just need to just make one of those every 4 years, and that's really it.
That's what we were talking about on Colin and Greg.
They still must be making money off of the last one that came out.
Oh, I'm sure. And the crazy thing is that the last one only sold about 25 million copies, and I say only. Yeah. But like this, what's incredible is that the it's just so funny. Like the Grand Theft Auto 4 numbers count the PC version, which hasn't fucking come out yet for Grand Theft Auto 5. That's even crazier because when that comes out, that's going to sell another 10 or 15 million copies.
For sure.
Because people love modding those games. So this game is going to pass the 50 million mark at least, which is fucking nuts when you consider that game costs $60 each. Like, they are just printing money, and the beauty of it, and this is what we were talking about on Colin and Greg Live, is the economics of it, right? Because Rockstar has multiple studios. One of them is obviously working on Red Dead. Rockstar North does Grand Theft Auto. Rockstar San Diego is probably doing Red Dead. They have all their different studios, like their ancillary studios. Thousands of people work on their games. They could take the Call of Duty tack and be like, we're going to make a Grand Theft Auto game every year. you know, and that's what we're going to do. And we're going to fucking run this guy into the ground, you know, and they'll sell 15, 20, 25 million copies of that game a year, but they don't. And what's brilliant is that they make more money by not doing that because the development cycle isn't so crazy that they have to do the Activision thing where like everyone in the Activision family works on Call of Duty now. Even guys like Raven who used to make their own games, or Neversoft used to make Tony Hawk. You know, now everyone is doing their part on Call of Duty to get out a game every year. It costs a lot of money. You know, so to do that, they're making tons of money by just being the game's ready when it's ready. And Grand Theft Auto 6 will probably come out in like 2020, and they're just like, we'll do it all over again, and we'll see how many copies of this game we can sell next time. Like if I were the Hauser brothers and I were, you know, if I worked at Rockstar and I was like, we just made $500 million in profit in one day, you know, like I would be like, holy shit,
you're doing it right.
That's the thing.
Quality.
Like, there's two very distinctive business models that you're talking about, right? One's a lot more old school than the other. The business model everyone wants is they want to be able to get the product to market as soon as possible so they can make a ton of money with DLC or a ton of money with in-game purchases, right? Things like that. That's what Call of Duty is. It is an annual game, much like Madden was. And have we seen a downturn in their sales for that? I mean, the last one that came out sold really well, right?
For Madden?
No,
Call
for
of Duty.
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty. Yeah, Ghost sold. I think it's here. Black Ops, I think, is still the best selling. Or no, Modern Warfare 3 is still the best selling game.
Okay, so is downward, a little bit of a downward trend.
Yeah, so Modern Warfare 3 came out in 2011, which was a good game, and that sold 20. I mean, they're all in the mid-20s. Ghost, I think, is like somewhere around 17 or 18, right? Yeah, 17 and a half. So the games are selling less. I mean, but when you still sell, you have to put into context, you're selling 17 or 18 million copies of a game. They're probably not so worried about it. I think that they're going to be worried when they get into the single digits, like 9 or 8 million. And then they're going to be like, this isn't, they're still going to be, actually, they will still make money off of that. But that's when I still think my biggest thing is that Call of Duty, if Activision's like, we're not going to release Call of Duty game for 4 years. And when we're going to release one, it's going to be awesome. It's going to have a 20-hour campaign. This crazy multiplayer we're going to build on for years, whatever. They probably will sell those numbers. It's just, and it would be cheaper, and it would be cheaper for them to do it. That's the funny thing is they can just take a studio like Sledgehammer instead of every fucking studio that they own and be like, you guys work on Call of Duty and that's it, and everyone else is going to do their own thing. And that's what Rockstar does, you know, because Rockstar, if they wanted to make a Grand Theft Auto game every year, they could reskin, make, you know, go back to Liberty City or whatever. They can do that over and over and over again, but then it would cost more and more and more money, and their profit margins would go down.
Well, also there's something to be said. There's an inherent value in scarcity, right? There's an inherent value in creating that value, which is to say you don't get this product every year, right? Same reason why Tim and I look forward to Smash Brothers when it comes out, because we get one once every 25 years. A Smash Brothers game comes out, which is crazy. It's like our kids will get the next one. Unless I already have a kid floating around there somewhere, which I'm sure I do. That's the best possible place you could be in, though. But there's no other. I can't name another company that gets that luxury, right? Even Apple has to put a product out every 6 months, right? Every year we get an iPhone. Every year we get the S version, right? In that same cycle. Movie studios do the same thing, right? There is a reason why Marvel and DC have announced 15 movies coming out every year for the next how many years? 10 years, 15
20,
years.
Yeah.
It's because that affects your share prices, and you get, you benefit from that. So it is incredibly crazy that Rockstar can sit back, have enough cash to basically fund an entire country if they want, and just develop an amazing product. And it is amazing. Like, for any shit that you can talk about Rockstar, having worked with them or whatever, the games they put out are awesome. GTA 5 was awesome. I own a copy of that. I'm one of those people that I never play games. I have 2 games sitting on my shelf right now. One is Deus Ex, and one is GTA 5. That's it.
Wow, a diverse
quite
collection.
It's a huge collection, and I haven't beaten either of them yet, but I played them.
GTA 5, it is a bundle, I think.
It is with PS4. The next gen version was a PS4 bundle,
and I think there was also a PS. I could be wrong about this, but I think there was a PS3.
There was one with headsets. Bundle. We were at the conference. There was one with headsets, whatever. But
I think there is a PS3 bundle.
Yeah, but I don't. My assumption based on the hardware sales of PS3 is that this accounts for very little of the sales. My assumption was that 90% plus sales were probably not through
just the game.
bundles.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just saying.
And it's not when I talk about a bundled game, I'm not talking about a game that can be bundled. I'm talking about a game that is a bundled game. So like Tetris with Game Boy or
Wii Sports.
Wii Sports or
was Wii Sports the number 1?
Yeah, Wii Sports is the best selling game of all time. Jeez. But again, that doesn't, and that's it's a great game. I mean, we talked about bundled games and what's most important. And people made really great points, I think, in the comments that Wii Sports is probably that important game. But GTA 5, I agree with you. Like, I think I was actually a little disappointed with GTA 5. I never beat it. I was like, I don't really, but it wasn't because the game was bad. It's just because I didn't want to play it. You know, it was just like, whatever. But it's so impressive that this game, for as popular as it is, I still feel is understated based on how many people own it. You know what I mean? 50 million people. That's an incredible amount of people. That would be, if it was all American, and they're not, that would be a sixth of the people in the United States. You know what I mean? Own the game.
Yeah.
For all of that, the people that own the game, I feel like it's actually very understated. You would think a game like Minecraft outsold it, but it didn't. You know what I mean? And that's the crazier, I think, through line about what cultural phenomenon equals to a game that just sells well or is just quietly good. And I'm not saying Grand Theft Auto 5 is quietly good. Obviously, they had a lot of ad campaigns. People love that game. They play the shit out of it. They're obsessed with it. But for 45 million sales worth, it is very quiet.
Well, I feel
that's because it's a no-brainer at this point. It's the 5th version of Grand Theft Auto. Everyone knows that's awesome. That's why I kept saying what I would have loved to see them do with GTA 5 is just when they were like, we're gonna do our first trailer, and the only trailer they ever put out is a black screen, and you can hear Michael and Trevor, and there's like things happening, there's gunshots, there's explosions, and he's talking about like I left his life behind, and it's just all it is a black screen that fades up with the GTA 5 logo, and that's all they ever released. I think they could do that and say fade up with the logo and say October or whatever, and that game would still sell like crazy.
Yeah,
and it would get even more press. I think that would be
That's like Beyonce shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
exactly.
GTA is the fucking Beyonce of the video game industry.
Do you feel like it's? I mean, obviously GTA 5 is hugely culturally relevant, but do you feel like it doesn't get that visibility because of GTA Online? Because most of these games that we are talking about are huge multiplayer phenomenons, and the GTA Online, what was amazing, was a little undersupported, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting numbers that they released were about a little more than half the people that own GTA 5 play it online, which is the numbers are good. It's like 25 million people, but heists aren't ready yet. And
that's what I was gonna say. It must have been a huge uphill, and then leveled off and then dropped.
Oh,
right? After a while, you're like, okay, there's only so many times I can play through all these modes.
Oh, I'm sure.
I need new stuff.
I'm sure. I think that has something to do with it. I'm more intrigued by their model and their quiet work ethic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Rockstar doesn't make a lot of noise in between games at all. Like when Ballad of Gay Tony came out, which was the last DLC for GTA 4, but for GTA 5 there was very little noise. Like they were quietly working on the game in New York City, and that's the thing I love most about them is that it's not because I'm a New Yorker, it's that they're in New York City. That's really weird. You know? Like there are no developers in New York City of any consequence, you know? But they're like, we make so much because it's expensive.
Yeah.
So they're like, we make so much money that we employ a metric shit ton of people in New York. And we stay here apart from the entire games industry and make our game. And when we're ready to show it to you, we show it to you. And until then, we have nothing to say. You know what I mean? And that's like what I really love. We'll see Red Dead from them, I think, soon from a different Rockstar studio. But, when, the Rockstar studio in Europe and the Rockstar studio in San Diego and New York, and they're all kind of collaborating on all these things and working on all these games independently. That's what you're talking about with the up-resing that was certainly done by, people internally with the team when they moved on probably to DLC, because there's more coming for GTA 5. It's just amazing that within a year and a few months, it came out in September of 2013, so a year and about 5 months, they've outsold. I mean, look at the games on this list. You know what I mean? Like they've just. It's not even close.
But I mean, you got that.
They trounced them.
That's what everyone dreams of, right? You have that IP that sells itself. It's the Star Wars of a video game, right? Where it is beyond a shadow of a doubt that Star Wars is going to be a hugely grossing movie when Force Awakens comes out. This is the kind of thing that developers or studios dream of having. Like they are the top 0.0001% of developers that has that luxury, and it's because they have the lineage of making crazy ass, awesome, addictive games. It's amazing.
Well, that what's important to me now, and I don't know if you guys agree with this, is that they have to be careful stewards now of Grand Theft Auto moving forward, because remember that a different Rockstar existed after GTA 3. Remember that the first Grand Theft Auto games were very different than GTA 3.
Top
down.
And when GTA 3 came out and hit, they immediately made Vice City, and then they immediately made San Andreas. And I think Vice City is the best Grand Theft Auto game in my opinion. But
yeah, me too.
San Andreas went a little far. It's the Metal Gear Solid 3, let's call it, of Grand Theft Auto. But then they went away again for a while. Sorry, I just elbowed Portillo in the head.
There's nothing
between 2004 and 2008. They went away, and then they did it again. Like they were very overzealous in the beginning because they wanted to strike on that success, but they have not done that since. And so, what I encourage them, and I'm sure they're much smarter people than me, and I'm sure they're going to do this, is don't make another Grand Theft Auto game the entire generation. Just disappear and make the next one, because you know what? Like they're already R&Ding PS5 probably and all these other things like very quietly, and in a couple of years
they're gonna have another one come out during this.
I hope not.
Generations are like 10 years now, right?
I hope they don't. Like that's what makes it. That's what makes it so special.
Well, I mean, that's what happened with GTA 4.
Like that's what makes it so special is that GTA 5 is a native PS3 game, but it's really an in-between game. And what I would love to see them do is no company, Microsoft and Sony would fall over backwards to work with them, you know? So when they're ready to show like the very early in 2017, 2018, like this is what the next console is going to be, this is what we're thinking, let them know and let them start making that game for that.
But I mean, like, look at the numbers they just did. Like, why not do the
Yeah.
exact same thing in bookend? You know,
They're gonna bookend it.
they're gonna see how well they did here. So put out GTA 6 right at the end of the PS4's life cycle, and then put it over to PS5.
Yeah, it's a valid point. We'll see what happens. I hope their stewardship of the series is going to be very important moving forward because they have to remember that the quality of the game speaks for itself. I feel the same way about Call of Duty. Actually, I think those games are very high quality. Even though they make them every year, I think they're of a high quality. But don't run it into the ground.
Yeah.
Your trajectory is going up. Call of Duty's is going down. You know what I mean? So just
Not by a deep slope, but it is going.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at the numbers here. Modern Warfare 3 is 26 million. And Ghost, which was last year's, is like 17. So that's a pretty significant jump.
Yeah.
You know, so like
That's true.
So like they're definitely trending down, and
But
GTA
Ghost
is
was the
trending
last
up.
one that
So
came out, right? We don't have numbers for
well,
Advanced Warfare.
no, Advanced Warfare was the last one to come out. I don't
I
even
would love Advanced Wars.
I don't even know if that's on here. The other thing is that, and this is the crazier thing I was thinking about, Tim, and I don't mean to talk too much, but I have to say this: what's the ubiquitous Nintendo game?
Mario.
The original one, right?
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto 5 sold more copies than that game.
Yeah, that's fucking nuts.
You know what I mean? Like that's
but
fucking nuts.
And it's crazy to think too, because how well did Red Dead sell? Right,
I don't know. Red Dead must have done
decently enough. I
6,
would
7,
imagine.
8 million. You would say somewhere in there probably.
So really,
think so.
and it's just again going back to that. Like there is something so special about GTA. There's just like one day I hope we have a show that does that well for us on Kind of Funny and Kind of Funny Games, where it's like no matter what we do, people love that show.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It's what every creator, what every artist kind of strives toward. It's just to have that name recognition and that big IP that can just sell no matter what.
All right, well, we could talk about this forever, and I feel like we should have another topic, a follow-up topic soon, where we actually just go through all of the best-selling games on all the different consoles and see, because I feel like there's going to be a couple surprises in there. We didn't have time to do it here because we just kept talking about GTA because GTA is that damn good.
There are.
Good.
Wikipedia has a great, just a great list of
Lists of
lists, and they're cited.
Tim
They're
loves
cited.
I love lists.
Nintendo is really great, especially about updating sales of historic software too, which I think is really cool. And so yeah, if you dive in, they even separate them on this page by console, which I think is fun. So
Yeah.
we should definitely can and should, I think, dive into that in the future.
Anyways, until next week, please give us some 5 stars on iTunes. Please leave some comments below about all your thoughts on all the different things we talked about. Or you know what? Just enjoy it. However you want to enjoy it. Until next time, I'm Tim Gettys. That is our special guest, Nick Scarfino.
Hey guys.
That's Greg Miller. And that's Colin Moriarty. We are Kind of Funny.
I'm on my way.
Home
Sweet home. And tonight, I'm on my way.
home, sweet home.
That's a great song.
It's so good.